Chernobyl. The name alone conjures images of glowing forests, haunted playgrounds, and enough ambient radiation to cook a rotisserie chicken. But all that is just the tip of the incredibly spooky iceberg when it comes to the tales people tell about the famous disaster site. And that's why today we're going to take a look at some creepy stories from Chernobyl. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to the Weird History channel. After that, please leave a comment and let us know what other disaster areas you would like to hear about. Okay, grab your radiation suit because we're going in. On April 26, 1986, Chernobyl Reactor number 4 exploded, triggering one of the worst nuclear disasters in history. But that wasn't about to stop New York-based nuclear physicist Andrei Korsakov from taking his vacation there in 1997. Okay, in all fairness, Andrei wasn't there for a selfie. He was there with a team to take radiation readings. But while standing outside the sealed facility, he heard someone screaming for help from inside the reactor. The problem was, no one had entered that room in years. You know, on account of the whole nuclear meltdown thing. The reactor door also required a password and a literal handprint to open. And had someone gotten in, they would have triggered an alarm. Later that evening, while the team was eating dinner, a floodlight inside the same room turned on. The team joked it was a power surge until the light turned off right as they finished the sentence. Maybe it was a glitch, or maybe someone really wanted to microwave a Hot Pocket in Hell's break room, or maybe, just maybe, it was a ghost. Possibly a ghost who needed to microwave a Hot Pocket. We can't rule it out. According to a classically trained pianist known only as Eerie, shortly after the meltdown, he and his state-sponsored musical troupe were ordered into the Chernobyl-adjacent area of Pripyat to perform for residents who had no idea there'd been a nuclear meltdown. It was a borderline suicide mission, but when you're a musician, a gig is a gig. Actually, the musicians weren't informed about what was going on either. So the show started, and as Yuri described it, the ballerina danced beautifully until her hair began falling out mid-spin. Then blood streamed from her nose and ears. The villagers weren't medical professionals, but they knew from experience that the ballerina was all but done for, and their children, themselves missing teeth and skin, offered her flowers. Then the generator died, and the stage went dark, but the flowers and the children kept glowing. Yuri escaped by hot-wiring a car and driving for days, but by the time he reached safety, he'd gone blind. He's said to be the only surviving member of the troupe. Anyway, it just goes to prove what we've always said. Don't stage a ballet in a radioactive fallout zone. Robots were supposed to clean up Chernobyl, but when they heard the plan, they went on strike. Okay, the problem was actually the radiation, which fried their circuits like a hot knife through Soviet butter. So the USSR turned to its backup plans. More ballet dancers. Nah, we're just kidding. They sent soldiers, which is just as horrible. These men were called liquidators, and they were given two choices: serve 2 years in Afghanistan, or spend 2 minutes shoveling sand onto the exposed reactor. Most picked the sand. The soldiers took a shot of vodka and ran onto the roof with shovels, knowing full well it might kill them. Many died. Others suffered long-term health problems. Turns out, vodka doesn't actually prevent radiation sickness. But when you're shoveling plutonium like it's mulch, you take what you can get. The elephant's foot is what happens when nuclear fuel, sand, concrete, metal, and Soviet regret all melt into one hideous blob of doom. It formed during the meltdown and was a glowing, lava-like mass that oozed through the reactor like it had somewhere evil to be, ultimately settling in a maintenance tunnel like a radioactive Jabba the Hutt. Back in 1986, if you stood next to it for 5 minutes, you'd be dead within 48 hours. And not like, wow, I feel dead after leg day dead. No, we're talking actual skin-melting, cell-liquefying dead. Early photos of this nuclear nightmare were taken using a wheeled camera because walking up to it was like shaking hands with the Grim Reaper. The photos show a lumpy, steaming pile that vaguely resembles, you guessed it, an elephant's foot, if the elephant was cursed by a wizard and had feet made of silly putty. Even today, the elephant's foot is still dangerous. Not insta-death dangerous, but definitely don't touch this unless you want to glow in the dark dangerous. After Chernobyl, rumors exploded like, well, Chernobyl. People claimed they'd seen giant wolves, glowing fish, and three-eyed frogs hopping around like they'd just left an audition for The Simpsons. And while we haven't officially confirmed the existence of a teenage mutant ninja bear, those earlier reports of mutant animals weren't entirely nonsense. One local piglet, for example, was born with dipygus, meaning 2 pelvises and extra legs. Basically, a double-butt pig. You can see it today at the Ukrainian National Chernobyl Museum, which is hands down the creepiest place you can visit without accidentally summoning a demon. But here's the plot twist nobody expected. Nature actually bounced back. Birds have smaller brains, rodents have fewer babies, and frogs are doing whatever radioactive frogs do. We don't know. But overall, the wildlife around Chernobyl is thriving. Turns out, once humans left, the forest basically said, "Cool, thanks. We'll handle it from here." It's like a post-apocalyptic TED Talk titled, "How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Radiation." So the moral of the story seems to be nature heals, but only after it gets rid of us. In what can only be described as historically bad timing, the Pripyat amusement park was set to open on May 1st, 1986. Instead, it opened briefly on April 27th for Chernobyl evacuees who were told that the air was deadly, but hey, there's a Ferris wheel. Today, the rusted rides are frozen in time. Moss grows on bumper cars. The swing boats haven't moved in decades. And the radioactive clown faces, because of course the abandoned amusement park has radioactive clown faces, they're still smiling. The park is so incredibly creepy, it's shown up in games like Call of Duty and Stalker, as well as every travel influencer's edgy abandoned photo shoot series. Because nothing says aesthetic like cancer dust. If the X-Files taught us anything, it's that the involvement of aliens makes everything creepier. So it's not terribly surprising that UFOs were reported hovering over Reactor 4 before and during the meltdown, casually vacuuming up excess radiation like cosmic Roombas. According to this theory, the aliens intervened to save us from an even bigger disaster, which is incredibly kind of them, especially when you consider what Ripley did to their queen. A similar claim popped up after 2011's Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan, suggesting Earth might be the galactic equivalent of a toddler-proofed house, and aliens are just floating babysitters, sighing heavily every time we stick a fork in the nuclear outlet. If you are a connoisseur of disturbing internet videos, you may have stumbled across a grainy-looking one that shows a man near Pripyat being attacked by zombies. It circulated widely online, and enough people believed it to justify greenlighting a horror film called Chernobyl Diaries, where a group of disaster tourists get eaten by mutants. As satisfying as that sounds, however, the zombie video is fake. The footage was lifted from the 2007 video game Stalker: Shadow of Chernobyl, where mutants roam the exclusion zone after a second fictional meltdown. So while it is creepy, we're sorry to report that there are no zombies eating tourists at Chernobyl. That being said, if we can arrange another meltdown or two, who knows? You know what's worse than a meltdown? A meltdown that screams. Yes, according to some workers and investigators, the Chernobyl reactor emitted an eerie, high-pitched wailing in the moments before the explosion. Witnesses described it as a sound you feel in your bones. But was it the sound of steam pressure building in a doomed nuclear core? Or was it, as Reddit suggests, the reactor's soul leaving its body? Either way, if your building starts screaming, it might be time to bail. Our best guess is that it was a combination of structural stress, superheated steam, and a core about to yeet itself into the sky. But since the Amityville movies clearly established that a building can be possessed, we're gonna go ahead and add this one to the haunted list. Multiple witnesses, including guards, engineers, and locals, claimed to see a dark figure with glowing red eyes near Reactor 4 in the days before the explosion. Sounds fake, right? Like a publicity stunt promoting a movie about Slender Man's radioactive cousin? But here's the thing, those reports predate the disaster. And after the explosion, the sightings increased. Strange noises and apparitions continued to be observed in the wreckage for weeks. Dubbed the Blackbird of Chernobyl, some have identified this figure as a Mothman-type harbinger of doom. Skeptics, always eager to ruin the fun, say it was just a large bird, or possibly mass hysteria. Whatever the case, we say, glowing red eyes plus deadly levels of radiation equals time to nope out. In the abandoned city of Pripyat, once a bustling home to thousands of Chernobyl workers, one of the eeriest sights is to be found in the remains of a kindergarten. Inside, scattered across rotting floors and peeling linoleum, are the melted and twisted bodies of children's dolls. What makes them especially creepy isn't just their melting faces or missing limbs, but how they've been arranged. One doll was found with nails through its eyes. Another sat upright in a tiny chair holding a Geiger counter. It's disturbing as all hell, but it's supposed to be. The dolls are genuine artifacts, but the poses they're now found in were arranged by later visitors, photographers, and thrill seekers who couldn't resist making a bad scene worse. And while the radiation levels in Pripyat are generally low today, the creepy vibe in that nursery is still off the charts. Despite the protective sarcophagus, the "we fixed it" press releases, and a whole lot of finger crossing, Reactor 4 is still reacting. Scientists detected rising neutron levels, meaning nuclear fission reactions are still happening in inaccessible chambers of the ruined reactor. Like a horror movie monster that refuses to die, Chernobyl continues to whisper, sizzle, and threaten. It's not dangerous, yet, but it means there are still hot spots of radioactive fuel slowly shifting beneath the concrete. And if something destabilizes, well, let's just say the sequel might not be on HBO. It might be in real life. Is that creepy enough for you? So what do you think? And what's the creepiest abandoned place you've ever been to? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're at it, check out some of these other videos from Weird History.